First item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Will everybody please rise? And you want to start us? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We have two projects tonight. First one on the agenda is HARB 2013-13, 213 Orchard Way, modify approved drawings, proposed mudroom to receive brick to match house instead of approved siding. Is someone here to present? You can introduce yourself and make sure you get, if you want a handheld mic, I've got that too. So, okay.
My name is Brian Hilstead, work at Warren Cleater Architects. The project that we have copies of, we had it last May, was approved by HARB in addition to a mudroom that was approved with siding. It's an existing brick structure. We're replacing the brick now with siding to match existing. That's the only change.
We're replacing siding with brick or brick with?
Yes. Yeah. This was approved with siding.
Yeah, could you? Yeah.
Also, I think you have a drawing that shows.
We do.
So if you could show that, that would be helpful.
Pleasure.
So last May, the top version with the brick is existing. This addition to the right with siding was approved by HARB last May. We are now switching it over with brick to match existing of the house.
I think you also have a minor change in the rear where they changed out the windows, if I recall.
The change to the left-hand side is a sunroom.
I mean in the back of the room, in the back of the house.
The back of the house?
Yeah. I think it changed the type of windows that you had.
We did not. If that's the drawing you're referring to?
Yeah.
That drawing is actually for the left elevation of the home. There's an existing sunroom that's placed there now, somewhat dilapidated. We are looking to reconstruct that with another sunroom on the existing foundation.
Is that part of this application as well? Okay.
Yes.
Can you talk about materials and
Yes.
on the new part?
The new part there will be windows to match existing. The outside would be a painted white exterior with a flat roof with a skylight that's there.
So the existing sun porch is kind of a greenhouse section,
Correct.
and you're going to take that off of the existing?
The existing is what you see there.
Oh, yeah.
Existing sunroom. And we were asked to replicate the photographs supplied by the owner, so it'll be in that style.
Very nice.
Thank you.
That's a bit of an improvement, I would say.
A little bit.
Quite
This
substantial.
addition, or this piece of the puzzle, is in the back of the house? And
Correct.
cannot be seen from the street? Or
It cannot be seen from the street. There's actually a large tree to the left-hand front corner of the house that shields this anyway.
Okay. Were you able to make the change in the brick from siding early enough to get foundation that'll take care of that, or?
Yes.
Okay.
We will, the footing was oversized, we'll run 4-inch block up and then brick above.
All right.
And the windows, existing windows are already set back in the wall, so that exterior look will look exactly like the existing house does, where the window's not proud.
So just as a administrative question, the brick part component change of this project, and Ray, I'm asking you this question, that really isn't part of why he's before us, right?
That's the only reason why he is here. Mr. Kachansky felt that because this was so new of a project, that the changes in material needed to come back in front of HARB,
Okay,
even though there was no permits necessary to do that change.
okay. All right, so that's one component, then the rear component. And that is those two things are the only changes, correct? Yeah. Any questions?
No, I think that, well, first of all, this building is not a contributing building to the historic district. I mean, it helps the historic district in terms of the massing and, you know, the volume and so forth, but I think that it's not considered to be a historic house.
That's correct.
And so, you know, to me, the way I read it is that the changes in material, while it may look more attractive or whatever, is not really a historic issue in our mind. And the second thing is that because the greenhouse is in the rear of the property and the scale seems to be in keeping with other buildings in the neighborhood, other auxiliary buildings, it seems to me that, you know, I think it fits into the neighborhood because that's really what we're looking at more than the actual details, since it's not a contributing building to the district.
Mhm.
So I would say, I think both changes are perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, I
Ditto.
agree. I think it's consistent with what we're charged with reviewing. So,
Great.
make a motion?
Yep. Motion to recommend approval of a COA.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0.
Yeah.
All right, so that's approval. Now, since you don't have any building permits to go through, he has to get approval from the commissioners, which is a Monday meeting, I think.
Okay.
They'll look at our ruling and agree with it, disagree with it, or modify it. And then you'll have the real idea of what you can do.
Fair enough.
That's how it works.
Fair enough.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next on the agenda is HARB 2013-14, 29 Luella Court. Removal of roof and front wall of existing garage. Replace roof, same. Install one course of block to solidify existing walls that have gaps. Install a door and garage door on the front, new concrete floor. Introduce yourself and walk us through it.
Sure. My name's Joe Birch. Work for SW Bages Limited. And this is a property we bought at the end of December. And we will eventually get to be working on the house itself. But prior to that, the house has a failing wall. But prior to that, we'd like to fix up the garage so that we have it for storage and use of materials and tools. So, Luella Court, it's circular. We're probably on the far east side of Luella Court. The garage in question is located pretty far back. If you look in picture number 1, it shows the front of the house. And to the left side, you can see how far back the garage is. But then you also have a close-up of it, and what we're looking to do, the walls are not in the best of shape. You can probably see it from the picture, particularly 4 from the side. The roof has been not maintained for several years. You can see the sunlight from inside. So what we're looking to do is just add a course of block, pour some rebar and concrete down there to kind of solidify everything, and then put back the same pitch of the roof. Change out the front to just a regular door and a garage door on the front. And that's really about it.
This is clarification for me. You said install one course of block to solidify existing walls. Can you talk about that? I'm just trying to understand what you mean by that.
On the inside, you can some of it has fallen away a little bit. You can see light through the existing block.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to tie some of that together, we'll put one more course up sometimes they call it a bond beam. They put rebar down inside the existing block, fill that with concrete, and kind of tie that with the new top course to help kind of solidify that all together. Build a new roof on the roof rafters and the roof structure on that, so we have a little bit more of a solid foundation to work on.
So that's,
you're
that's
actually
at the
using-
roof, that's at the top plate.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
So you're using the existing walls, filling them in with rebar and cement, and then putting another course or something on top to tie it all
Correct.
together?
It's just, it'll be
Okay.
a new course on the top. The rebar will actually go up into the new course, so you're kind of tying the
Tying
top all the way down.
Okay.
Just in case if anything is pulling away from one another, and then on the inside, probably re-grout where you can if you have to parge anything to just make the inside a little bit nicer, because some of the cinder block is wearing away just from being exposed to the elements. So you can see where the one side of the roof, part of it's just missing.
Does this actually raise the roof 8 inches?
8 inches, yes.
Okay.
Is your intention eventually to keep this building when the
Yes.
other house is renovated? So
Correct.
this will, okay. What kind of, what's the material of the garage door?
It'll be, I believe it's an aluminum garage door.
Okay, so you're talking to a regular segmented garage door you're putting in?
Correct.
Just with- Okay, no windows, just plain segments?
No, the door will have windows at the top of it, but not the garage door. It'll look like, kind of how the smaller raised panels as it goes across a typical garage door.
And what kind of door is that? Will that be a metal door or a wood door?
It'll probably be a metal door.
And you're just going to paint the existing block on the outside?
Yes, it'll match what we proposed was a siding at the top. The color is kind of a tan, a little bit darker than a tan. I wouldn't call it a brown. We would paint the block to match that, but then the trim around the door and the garage would be white, and the rake of the roof would also remain white.
You know, I know this is an accessory building and in the back, and you can see it from the street, but it's, you know, way back. There's something about the double door original, you know, glass top doors that's, you know, kind of, I don't know, it's a lost detail in the Wayne neighborhood. A lot of the garages had this kind of an arrangement. They don't work well in snow. You can't put automatic door openers on them. There are all those bad things about them. And they tend to rack and don't close correctly and all that. But is there a way that you could somehow get a garage door that has some detail that would be, and this is not, we really can't have this as a condition, I don't think.
That's fine.
I'm just asking the question, is there a way to go from a simple garage door that's segmented with maybe some panels in it to maybe a garage door that has a similar scale detail to what's existing? You
Or
know,
at
it
least-
sort of looks like a carriage house door.
To create the appearance of glass on the upper two, as you see it sized there, to create glass panels on the upper two, and
Well, you probably don't want glass for security,
no.
but I'm just thinking that it looks like, you know, they're multi-panel doors. And, you know, there are segmented garage doors that have a cottage-style appearance to them. They're a little more expensive, but, and again, I don't think we can make this as a condition. I'm just asking, is that something you could consider?
Yes.
I think it would, you know, just be a nicer front to the neighborhood if you did that.
Well, I also think in terms of material, it would be nice if it could be a wood door rather than an aluminum door. I know, it's just a suggestion, because the reason I'm saying that is that by using the door that you're suggesting, the garage door and the 3x6/8 door, and then using vinyl siding on top of it and so forth, it's completely taking away the historic character of the building, so that when the building is finished, I don't think it will retain any of its historic character. And, as Cam said, it is an accessory building, it is at the back of the property, but we are really losing these buildings, and we're losing the character of these buildings. So I think that, anything that could be done to preserve the character would be good.
Well, I'm looking at the garage, it's a garage, in context with the houses on both sides. And if you look at the garage house on the left, I think it's actually two houses that they put together and expanded out. The other house on the right-hand side, which is part of this property, I think if there's any detail on it, it was taken off years ago. It's just basically a block of stucco. So if you look at it in that context, simply just even having the siding on top of the doors, it actually kind of takes some pieces of each building and marries them together. And in fact, you don't know what house it really belongs to. I guess I'm getting around to, you have to look at it in context with those two things. If you look at it as it stands right now, there should be a house on the property that looks something like this, and it doesn't. I'm talking about the existing house that's part of this property. It doesn't look like this at all, nor the house next door. Plus, this thing was slapped together way back when, 60, 70 years ago. You could see the way the block was laid, the roof, let's just put up a garage. And those were the kind of doors you always saw back then, no matter what. So, I don't have any problem with the regular design. I think, and I agree with Cam, maybe still go with a segmented garage door, but something with a little more detail to make it, rather than just plain. I think it'll help to sell the other house quicker also.
If this wasn't visible from the street at all, it
Yeah.
probably would be, we wouldn't be talking about it
Yeah,
pretty much.
yeah.
But since you can see it, it's a suggestion that
Yeah.
if it's in the budget to do something a little bit more, that would be great.
We can look at it, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna be back before you next month anyway for the house, so I can kind of give you an update on it. But
Okay.
at the same time, I'd like to get the majority
going,
of the structure together.
And as far as, raising this 8 inches, within the course of block, I don't think that has any
Yeah. It's not a problem.
any scale issues. So, anything else on?
I just feel uncomfortable with the way it's being done. So I just feel really uncomfortable with it. I think that because it is visible from the street, I think it sets a precedent, and if they do it on this building, I know the building is in terrible shape, and the fact that it needs to be raised 8 inches and the block needs to be fixed and concrete needs to be poured, I don't think that is a problem, but in terms of preserving the historic character of the neighborhood and the building, I think that the changes that you're making really change the character.
Yeah, but if you look at the house next to the left-hand side, when they redid that and combined together, that would never pass our hard board, never. And it stands there. So this is such a small, you wouldn't even notice this thing half the time. It's the houses that are actually there at the front that you really notice, which are out of character with the neighborhood to start with. Just look across, maybe 5, 6 houses down, you got 1970 houses that were put up that absolutely have nothing to do with that neighborhood. So, it's a moot point.
Well, I don't think it's a moot point. I think that it's
In context with the houses that are next, on each side of that,
Yeah, but in context of the property, I think it's, I think it's a historic, it's a small historic building that we can see.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's something that somebody slapped together for a garage back probably in the 1930s, I'm guessing.
Yeah, but I
You
mean,
know.
that was true of a lot of accessory
With, yeah, and
buildings.
with no real character. I mean, today you would put something like that up, it's like, why did you put up that thing? There's no character, there's no
I
detail
disagree.
to it.
I-
Yeah.
I
Just
think-
because it's old doesn't make it look,
No.
we
but-
should preserve
no,
it, that's
but-
all.
But the type of doors that are on it, you know that it's a historic building, you know that it's old. At one time, I'm sure the doors were fine, they're not now. But, I think it gives it a certain character that is lost with the rehab that's being suggested.
I think in the end, I kind of agree, in the sense it's just it's been there for a while, but it's still just a garage, and I think I would rather focus when we come back next month
Yeah.
to put our energy into making the house more in keeping with the neighborhood and something of that nature, rather than focusing on a garage that is close to 140 feet removed from the roadway.
Do you know how old the garage is?
No idea.
How old is the house?
What I can tell you is it's made out of that terracotta cells is
Oh,
the
yeah.
exterior wall. And the stuck is directly onto that, and there's no framed wall on the inside, it's just the fairing strips. And the whole right side, as you look at it, is falling off, so whatever is the time frame, if you know of when they use that for construction, that's
Sounds
all
like-
I can date. I don't know that off the top of
The
my head.
20s and 30s, very,
Yes.
very common, especially commercial work.
But pretty much the whole right side is falling off of the house,
Gotcha, okay.
which does bring up a question. I don't know if this is the spot, but is there any guideline that you would like to see for the house? We're kind of at the stage where we're probably looking at the whole facade of touching it. Is it something to see stucco go back, or is there some other type of recommended look of some type of clapboard or something of that nature?
What are you trying to do with it right now?
It's a duplex now. We'll restore it back to a duplex, but pretty much most of the whole right-hand side will have to come down, wrapping around to about 40% of the front wall. So we're going to be
You're talking the main house now,
the
right?
main house, yes.
The front wall, is that the wall facing the street?
Yes. And the whole right side is compromised. It's built on unbuildable soil.
That's that common drive side, is that what that is?
No, actually, it's not a common drive. That's the neighbor's driveway.
Oh, okay,
Our driveway is to the left-hand
other
side
one,
to
right.
our garage.
gotcha.
But they kind of slid in a staircase on that side to access the second floor. But I guess
Well, I think what we should do is get the garage out of the way, and then we can talk about the house a little bit as a preliminary.
sure.
But I think we need to kind of dial down on this. I know what you're saying. I would love to see this restored in exactly the way it looks now, in a new material. But I don't know that we can mandate that with an accessory building that far back. I don't know. I mean, I think the compromise would be, well, there's two compromises. One is if we could see a garage door that is more in keeping with a cottage style or a carriage house style. And is it possible to move the single door to the side and center up the other one? Or do you need that side space? It's easier to go through a frame, non-open, whatever. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not suggesting that you keep those doors exactly and, restore them so that they can be used. I mean, that'd be great, but I understand that's impractical. But I do think that the character of the building should be maintained a little bit more. And I think that what Cam is suggesting, I would feel more comfortable with that than I would just approving what's being shown here. Because I think that what Cam is suggesting at least is preserving the character of the building. But
Well, I don't know how you want to, I mean, how far do you want to take it?
well, I mean, we could vote on it, and
Okay.
if it's 2-1, he can do it. You know, if not, then I guess he has to come back and show us something new. I think. You know.
Mhm. Well, I think you're replacing the whole roof, all new. Same overhangs, everything's going to match,
Yes.
pretty much. This one has open rafter. Are you going to keep that, or you're going to go with closed soffit?
Probably close soffit,
Okay.
so then we can put a gutter on it rather than have it just pour wherever.
Okay. But the overhangs and the rake
Same.
would be the same. 8 inches taller, so those are all good things. The siding, the proposed siding is going to match in scale pretty much what's there.
Correct.
Is this a German shiplap, or is it just a lap with a bead or something? I can't see it.
I believe it's like a German siding. I don't know if that's
Okay.
where it just overlaps about 3/4 of an inch.
Yeah, it's kind of a German. Yeah, I know. You got anything?
Hmm?
You got anything else?
Mm-mm.
Anything?
I mean, the real issue is not this, but the house, which is coming up. And we're spending an awful lot of time on really a nondescript building. I mean, that's what you really got there. And you're basically restoring it more or less to what is there already, except for the doors.
No,
And I agree with you with the
disagree.
doors being, again, look at the house to the left, look at the house to the right. That doesn't even looks like it should be there.
Yeah, I know
mean,
what you're
when
saying.
you really
but
look at the whole thing.
What I'm looking at is, this has been untouched because nobody's bothered with it.
Right.
So it's the only remaining relic between the two houses. I mean, you can look at it that way. So, how important is that? Well, it's a little garage, it's back in the back. Do we
So-
really want to get involved in this kind of stuff? Is that important or is it not? You kind of have to look at the level of,
I mean, this is what we're asked to look at right now, not the
Right.
house.
Yeah.
This is the
Right,
project.
exactly. But coming downstream is going to be,
Well, but
but you still have to look at it in context with the existing buildings that are there. That's the point I'm making.
yeah, I know.
So whoever owns a house, so we'll keep an eyesore because it's historically accurate, and we'll put a lot of money into our regular house and make that wonderful. I mean, that's what you come down to, and that's a compromise that you have to really make. Again, just because it's old doesn't make it right, good, I mean.
Right, but I don't think that, I happen to think that this, it is old, it is historic, it does say something about the neighborhood, and we have reviewed many garages and outbuildings where we've been very specific about what we thought
Sure.
should be there.
Sure.
And, because the other buildings have been changed so much in the neighborhood, to me, is all the more reason to try and preserve at least a little bit of that historic character.
But when we looked at those garages, and we rightfully made comments on a lot of details, but there we're looking at the house and we're looking at the garage in context with the renovations going on to the main house. And what we did was forged an understanding of that building, of the garage,
No, that's
so
not
it fits with the
necessarily
house.
true. One of the very first projects we had was simply a garage, and they were not making any changes to the character of the house. I think it was in the North Wayne area. And I just think it, the reason that I think it needs more work are two reasons. One is that I think we should at least try and preserve something of an outbuilding, that's there, since it is an outbuilding and it is historic. And secondly, I think it sets a bad precedent. I think that, where do you draw the line?
Well, in this case, if this were my place, if this was my garage, I would knock it down because of the condition, the physical, structural condition that it's in right now. You basically need a whole new roof. Those walls, as you see in those pictures, you can see right through the walls. You're better off just knocking the whole thing down and starting from scratch on a real practical level.
Right, but if
instead of spending an awful lot of money trying to keep what is just something that somebody slapped together, a few years ago.
But if he did knock it down, then we would review the project that he was putting up in its place.
That's right.
And we would
That's right.
request probably a building that fit within the character of the neighborhood, which this one doesn't do, as renovated.
Right. And in fact, right now, it doesn't look like part of either house. It just looks like, what is that thing doing there? If you look at the house to the right, look at the house to the left.
But I don't think it needs to look like the house to the right or the house to the left. I mean, if you look at these old estates and you see remnants of buildings on the property, it's an indication of what was there. It doesn't necessarily have to match
Right.
everything else. So,
That's right. That's right.
Can we do this? Can we approve raising the roof and the siding and the finishes on the outside, and ask you, when you bring the house back, to bring this front piece back with an alternate? Or do you need to have closure on this?
I think they're looking at it to keep their equipment in this thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, need for their own security.
Yeah, okay. As I'm looking at, okay, if we said, we'd like to see the exact same thing, well, how do you do that? Well, do you put, what's the span on each of these doors?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
The 10-foot, they're probably 6 foot. Yeah, they were probably 7.
Probably maybe 7 foot.
7 foot
In total width,
Yeah.
each
Yeah.
double.
Each bay.
I want to say overall, I want to say it's 16 feet wide, the garage.
Okay,
Okay.
so
So maybe
12.
6'6". Oh, no,
so they're probably 6 and something.
yes.
So, in the world of today, what sort of doors can you get that do what you're trying to do, that fit that module? An overhead or swing or whatever, it's custom, right, pretty much?
It would be, I mean, your smallest garage door is typically 8 feet.
Right,
So even I don't know what the future use of this is, but to use it even for a car would render it useless, even if you want to house an antique car in it, making
like
6
right
foot.
now, you couldn't get something through those doors, really.
No.
So, I'm just saying, if we say, well, you can't do this, you gotta bring it back, how do you do that? Do you have to make something custom for
You
this
have to
little
do
thing?
something custom for that.
Or can you make something, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Make it usable.
yeah. But I'm not, I'm not sure that we have to go that far, though.
What I would say, I guess, working towards that, what if the front structure was in line to then keep the man door, but then look to get a garage door that has some of the features that you're talking about? I can easily plywood up the garage and still have access through the man door, but to get something more in keeping with the appearance of, but it would still be a 10-foot wide garage, but maybe some of the
Segment it up to look like,
I mean, I've seen like
I mean, that's
off the
fine.
shelf,
Right.
off the shelf where they have doors that kind of look like this?
Right. They're not off the shelf. It's an order, but you can
Yeah.
get it, but then I can
Yeah.
still secure the structure
Right.
and still have access to it through the man door, but then bring a garage door to be approved or reviewed, I should say.
I mean, I think that's doable.
I would feel comfortable with that, because I think what you can always put heavier molding or something like that, so that, beef it up so that it has more of the proportions that were typical of that time.
All right, so this is kind of an approval with condition,
Can we do that?
sort of.
Not really.
We can approve it with the man door and a solid face, and you can come back and provide us with a real door, and we can approve that.
Technically, do you have the authority to mandate a door style
If it's a door
and a
scale.
material?
Well, I didn't ask for materials, I just said it's a scale thing. We're trying to get, an overhead door that's segmented horizontally does not look like a door,
From
you know what I
From
mean?
140 feet away from the road surface, you're going to determine whether that's 3.5 inch or 4.5 inch on your moldings and your door styles.
A door style you'll be able to see.
Now, if they don't come back, can they leave that boarded up? If they decide not to put a garage door in there? So now it's going to be blank.
I see your point. See that?
If they replace the garage door tomorrow, they don't need a permit. Keep that in mind. That may be something to help you to make a suggestion, but to make a decision.
Well, this was brought before us because you were changing the openings, which is a scale problem. So that's what we're discussing.
Correct. But they could put that opening in there with plain panels without a permit, so it wouldn't be in front of Harb. You want a 16-foot garage door there, plain panels.
Right.
Or would you ask that the man door and the garage door kind of come close to, would that be maybe an offer from the board?
Well, that was my original offer, was as a suggestion, but
Take it as a suggestion, if they could, something from a garage door company that would possibly mimic something close to this. There's a lot of styles, I don't know that anything comes exact. I'm just trying to think out loud to help the process.
right. So Ray has a point. If we approve just the door and blank it off, he could go away and just leave it plywood,
Right.
and we approved that. So there's the
Gonna-
problem.
Yeah, right, I know.
So we don't want to do that. That's kind of the end of it.
Yeah.
Even though we're trying to get you into gear and get you moving ahead.
I think, unfortunately, I think the process is making this more complicated than the actual result of what would happen, because I'm sure that you can find a door that looks appropriate, if not in this configuration, something that at least has some of the proportions of what would have been typical during this period. I mean, I've seen them, and they're not necessarily even custom doors. So I think it's the process that's making this difficult. It's not the fact that you won't be able to do it in an economical way. But if we approve this as it is, I mean, essentially, if we can't approve with conditions, we're either approving it or we're not approving it, and we're making suggestions, and it's up to you to decide whether or not to follow the suggestions.
Well,
No, I mean, if you want to get into process, you could disapprove it because we don't have enough information as to how this door is supposed to really look.
Well,
I
that's
mean, you want to
true.
talk administratively.
It's true.
and then you come back later on, or
Right.
else like we've done before, where they have sent us,
Mm-hmm.
where we've approved it, and at the next meeting, under old business, we bring it up and say, okay, here's what we're approving, blah, 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 so we could do it that way.
I guess the only thing.
And I get you going.
Yeah, I would kind of, I think we can find the right thing cost effectively.
I'm sure
And if you look at the
can.
rest of our portfolio in Wayne, it's not like we've ever skimped on our buildings.
Yeah,
You got the Wayne Hotel, the 100 West, we put all the windows with the divided
right,
lights.
right.
I would make the suggestion, and I think it's going to come in keeping with what you're looking for. And I'd just like to get started on it.
Yeah.
And that's the one time I would say I think our track record works pretty well.
So,
So this is a question for you, Ray. Why, remember, several years back, we would approve with conditions, and we would say, okay, this is approved, and then a week later, they would send everything around that they were changing, and we would say, yeah, this looks fine, and they would then be able to go to the board before, they did it quickly, and then they wouldn't lose time. Why can't we do that now?
There's a couple of reasons. One is we're trying to streamline this process. We're due in front of the board for hard recommendations to the COAs once a month now. So if I don't get it on by Monday, it waits another month to get approved. That's the first issue internally as far as Radnor Township. Second, it makes it very hard to track those because as a recommendation, it doesn't always need to be done. So what you're doing is, as a board, you're trying to get the best of what you can get up front and then try to guide them towards something else. I don't know that you can mandate a certain thing. If you want to not approve this, then don't approve it. If you want to approve it and ask the applicant then to do his best to meet something that looks like a carriage-type door, that's probably not a bad way to get this thing approved, because we're going to type these up tonight. They go up to the office tomorrow morning for Monday's board. Remember, we got a holiday in here too, so.
Right, so if he were to figure out which garage door he wants to use tomorrow, and send it to all of us on the board, and we can't do that.
No.
We're typing these COAs tonight. They'll be in the office.
when are
at
you
8
coming
o'clock
back
tomorrow
with
morning.
the next
Okay.
application for the main house?
Hopefully for the August 7th meeting. But at the same time,
You got to get started on this.
Yeah, and I'd like to have my plans fairly well by 2 weeks and set to go as soon as we get approval here for that. That's sort of why I'm asking the suggestion on the house.
Why don't we approve it with a recommendation on that? Because, I mean, I'm just saying. Yeah, I think that's kind of where I am with it, because I'm looking at, if we don't approve it, what's he going to do? Going to come back with what?
Right, I just feel like it's setting a bar. I mean, I think their work is beautiful. And I mean, I should put this on, I think your work is
Now,
beautiful.
I mean, you also look
but-
at, here's a building that's remote. It's not as old as some of the buildings out there. It's an accessory. It is being repurposed again. It's being saved. So there is that.
Yeah,
It's not being saved exactly the way this is, which we'd all love to see that, but in reality, those doors don't work in modern times
Yeah,
for his use.
right. But I'm not saying that he should keep these doors, though, because they don't work.
No, but
And
I
they're in
mean,
bad
even if you were
condition
to try
and
to
everything
recreate
else.
that,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right. But the way it looks now, what he's suggesting is a complete, just a building with absolutely no character that could be a shed that you buy at Home Depot. I mean, and that's not the kind of
If-
building that we want to
But
have in historic districts if it was a historic building to begin with.
But Andrea, if you take those doors off, just take those doors off. The building looks like a shed you buy at Home Depot. I'm serious. Take the doors off, which is the only character of that entire building, And it looks like any nondescript garage, I can throw thousands of them just in the area.
But that's why the doors are so important.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm agreeing with you there. It's just like looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
All right, so here's my recommendation. If you could find a man door and a garage door that has a carriage detail to it, and if you could find a man door that is in proportion to, say you find a garage door that has 3 segments in it, or 2 segments, it'll probably be 2. It'll look like it's supposed to be 2 doors opening out. And that's not gonna work. I was gonna try to see if you could keep the man door in the same proportion as the door that's there now, but that's way wide.
No.
It's,
No.
No, but I think that he probably could find a standard door with, say, I'm just giving this as an example. I'm not saying this is the door you should use or anything like that, but the doors that have the vertical boarding and they're, they're wood or they look like wood, and the scale is fairly, there's some detail to them. I mean, that door wouldn't necessarily look like the doors that are there, but they would give the feeling of a historic building so that we would know that this was a historic building to an extent. I mean, I think to replace these doors exactly as they are is not that's definitely not what I'm suggesting, because I think that's a huge project for a little teeny building that you can't see.
All right, so if the garage door has a scale to a carriage look, or something similar to this look, you would be okay with that?
Yes.
And if the man door had a similar feel to it,
Mm-hmm.
it'd be, and that's as far as you can go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Which I think we were
Which
leaning.
we've done before, and it's worked out.
Yeah, but I
know.
think that's what we were leaning for at the start of this whole
like a-
conversation,
like a,
even
like
before
a half
you.
an hour ago?
Yeah, but because that's what Cam brought up.
Yeah.
Can you be, I mean, that was the whole idea. You got segmented doors, make sure the segmented doors look like a carriage house. That's all.
Right. I mean,
So in the interest of moving him ahead, the only way we can approve this is to suggest it,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't have it in front of us.
Right.
And then it's on them to decide that they'll do what we suggest, even though we can't say,
Mm-hmm.
we can't suggest it and say that's the only way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
So we can do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound good? I know you don't like that, too. But otherwise, he's gone a month. He's
yeah,
gonna
I
come back.
know. Well, I would go along with that. I mean, it's, might come back to bite
And
me,
these
but
guys
whatever.
do.
I know
what they
you do beautiful work. I mean, I do
we're
know
going to
that.
be back again.
Yeah, I know you do great work. It's not that I don't think you will. It's really more the, I mean, anyone can come in and say that they're going to do this
I
down
know.
the road, and if we, it just sets a bad precedent, but I know where you are. I know where you're coming from. I think you probably will do a great job, but it,
Well, you want to make a motion? You wanna-
Okay. Motion to recommend approval of a COA.
I will second. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
no.
No. Okay,
No.
2-1. So approved as shown with the recommendations to do all those carriage-esque things. And if it's already built, should give us a picture next time or give us a spec, just to update us on the next meeting.
Sure.
That'd be great. And sorry for all the discussion, but it's, it's just, that's what we do. So that will go before the board on Monday. They'll decide one way or the other, and then you'll have your answer on that. That's how
I
that
mean,
works.
the neighbors in that neighborhood will come out with pitchforks.
Possibly. So I think that's you for tonight. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Okay. Next agenda item is new business. Anything from you this year? No. Any old business? Anything from, okay. Any public comment?
Hi, Jim Schneller. Hope you're doing well. I'm out here because of bell tells. That's how I've known it for my life. So I don't know what nomenclature the building has been under many times. It's my understanding it has even been applied for National Historic designation.
Which building is this?
This is the building that was formerly the Bell Tells Restaurant. It's adjacent to, I think, an Enterprise rent-a-car on Stratford
Is
Ave.
this the Villa Stratford?
Yeah.
First, let me ask you, do you have any comments on the projects that were before us tonight?
They'd be informal. I'd say thank you for trying to maintain the character of the garage itself.
Okay.
And I think there's situations where that matters.
So your comments are for something new?
This is about something new.
Okay, just getting that clear.
So this is recognized as a pretty magnificent mansion. And
The old Villa Stratford, is that what you're
Yes.
talking? Okay.
Yeah.
and it's been before zoning and planning. I think it's going to be coming back. Yeah, it's back to zoning this month or next. And what's unfortunately happened is at the last minute, at the last zoning hearing, is a statement that because of neighbors' opposition and shifting around with things, they're insisting that now the building will come down. And so it's twice as disheartening, the fact that it was developers willing to save it and that our residents are being instrumental, not our residents or some kind of a grant.
Some residents.
The neighbors.
Yes. And so I wanted to ask you if there's any interjection you can make, anything at all you can possibly do, a letter recommendation, because I know in the spirit of the HARP especially, this would have been one of the objects. And the only thing I've heard negative is that it's been used for a restaurant and it was altered in the interior in some way or other. The proposal was, and I hope remains, to use it for business purposes. And so certainly the interior is going to undergo change. And the exterior looks fine to me. I think the exterior looks like it's been shabbyized, if you know what I mean. So and this is an unqualified opinion. I just wanted to ask.
Is that a technical term?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's outside of the districts that we have jurisdiction over.
Yep.
But it is one of those, kind of lone sites that everybody really would like to see something done with rather than having it raised. So we're all aware of that, and we are watching it closely, and wherever we can plug in, we will.
Good.
And we have.
Well, thank you very much.
So that has not gone unseen and is not something we're not aware of. So thank
I
you.
wanted you to know the community is behind you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other public comment? Then I would hopefully have a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
I second. All in favor? 3-0. Good night.